Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and thank you for tuning in here to a brand new episode of The Breaking Ground. I'm Deepthi Sachdeva. What you just see, in fact, on your screens are dramatic images that have been captured, remember, by a drone. This is a drone that gets you the moments when this man that you see on your screens, Yahya Sinwar, who remember is someone who's been eliminated now, but he was, the fountainhead of terror. Also the mastermind of what happened on October the 7th. The Israelis believe that he was the mastermind. He had to go. And on your screens, like I said, this is an image that is defining in more ways than one, where you see him actually sitting inside on a chair. This is where the drone, remember, just moves in. And you see him there sitting inside a chain. That he had been reportedly injured earlier in the day are also what reports tell us. And then Sinwar throws a stick at the drone. Many say then apparently a shell is fired and he's dead. Significant moment. What does this mean? Is this a turning point in the war? As a lot of you have been discussing, will we see an elusive ceasefire that happen? Who else but Major General Yaakov Amidror, who's the former Israeli NSA, who's joining us. Major General, thank you so much for speaking to us here on Times Now, and thank you so much for your time, sir. First up, for all of us watching this story here in India, what is the significance of this particular death that has been confirmed? What does this mean? And does this bring us closer to what the world has been saying is an elusive, perhaps, a ceasefire in the entire war?
I think it's very significant because Sinwar was the leader of the organization which butchered the Israelis in the 7th of October. He is behind the whole plan and the barbarian actions. So the fact that he was eliminated, it's a huge blow to the organization, the remains of the organization. And that will give Israel more credibility when we are saying that we are going to eliminate all the remnants of this organization in Gaza. Of course, the organization is still holding Israelis and others in his hands, and we have to negotiate or to find them and to release them by force. But the fact that the commander and the architect of the 7th of October operation disappeared from the reality of the making decisions system in Hamas is very important. What will happen, I don't know yet because it's too early to judge, but what is clear that the big symbol of Hamas is not anymore in the scene, and we will have to deal with Hamas without the leader.
Now, what does this mean, sir? People are also curious, could this bring an end to the war in Gaza? Do you see that happening?
No. I don't see it bringing an end to the war in Gaza, because what we have in Gaza is to clean Gaza for all the remnants of Hamas. And that is true with Sinwar and without Hamas. It's easier without Sinwar, but it's still something that we should do. Otherwise, we will give time to Hamas to regroup, to reorganize itself, to bring more weapons into the area. That will be a huge mistake. We have to keep the momentum and to kill all the terrorists which belong to Hamas.
Now, what does that mean? If I just push that point a little further, you're saying this definitely does not bring in, end to the war in Gaza. We are already looking at fatalities. You're seeing the top brass of the Hezbollah that already has been eliminated. It has been neutralized. What is it that you're looking at, sir?
We are looking at different issues in Gaza and in Lebanon. It's not connected from our point of view. In Gaza, what we want to have is elimination of Hamas. So a third party, either Palestinians or Arab countries or Western countries, will have the ability to come in. Hamas will be weak enough not to fight them and to rebuild Gaza in the future. It will take a year to eliminate the military capability of Hamas to the level, to degrade it to the level in which a third party can come in and take the responsibility for Gaza. In Lebanon, we know that we cannot eliminate Hezbollah. It's too big organization. What we have is first to push Hezbollah from the border, that our people will be allowed to come back without fearing 7th of October in the Hezbollah style, and they don't have the ability to launch anti-tank missile into Israeli communities. The line of sight will be in our hands, not in their hands. And generally in Lebanon, we have to destroy the firepower of Hezbollah, thousands of rockets and missiles that had been prepared by the Iranians and Hezbollah in Lebanon. We don't want them to have it in the future, so they will not have the ability to launch rockets and missiles into Israel day and night as they are doing today.
Okay, and when you say this, I do remember there has been, a conversation between Biden and Netanyahu just after the confirmation of the elimination of Yahya Sinwar. And could this be used as a window to stop the war? I think even the US has put out that kind of an appeal if the war could now just see a closure and end.
I didn't understand the ideas of the Americans half a year ago when they spoke about bringing the Palestinians into Gaza. I asked the Americans what they mean with saying Palestinians. They were, we will do something that the Palestinian Authority will be less corrupted and more democratic. But they cannot guarantee that in the full democracy and elections, Hamas will not be elected by the Palestinians. So what are the expectations that Israel will agree to Palestinians controlled by Hamas to take responsibility in Gaza? I didn't understand the American ideas in the past, and I don't understand them today. I don't see the third party waiting behind the corner to take responsibility in Gaza, because everyone understands that if he is going into Gaza, he has to fight Hamas, and no one is ready to fight Hamas but the IDF. And the same is about Lebanon. I don't see anyone in Lebanon who is ready to take responsibility when Hezbollah is still the strongest organization in Lebanon, stronger than even the Lebanese army. So who will deal with Hezbollah other than the IDF? So the Americans have many dreams and plans, but I don't see how much they are connected to the reality on the ground in Lebanon or in Gaza.
Okay, when you say this, how long, sir, can this war really go on? Are we looking at any particular kind of timelines?
Yes, I think that in Gaza, it will be a different kind of a war, much less aggressive, with much less forces. It is about cleaning Gaza after the IDF finish to annihilate the organization. Now it is a kind of a guerrilla teams that from time to time we have to identify and to kill. It's totally different kind of a war, much less air force. From time to time, we have to go in with bigger forces. But for example, in this operation, when Sinwar was eliminated, the forces were very minimal. It's another kind of a war, less intensive. In Lebanon, we are still in the intensive stage. It will take time, few months probably. And then the intensity in Lebanon will be reduced as well.
Okay, and when you say this, there is already a new front that has been opened vis-a-vis the Hezbollah. Now, what the world is also worried about right now is that, are we looking at a direct confrontation between Israel and Iran? Do you think that is something that is on the cards? Should the world be prepared for this? Should we be equally concerned?
Of course, it happened. The Iranians launched into Israel twice. Once 300 projectiles, and the second one 200 ballistic missiles. So we are in a war. We are in a war in which we are exchanging missiles and so on. It's far away. It's 1,500 kilometers away from Israel. It was initiated by the Iranians. The Iranians in April launched 300 projectiles. The damage for Israel was minimal. We succeeded with a lot of help from the coalition based on the Americans, French, Brits to intercept most of the projectiles. Now, less than months ago, we faced 200 ballistic missiles which have been launched by the Iranians. The Americans again and the Brits and few French were very helpful, but at the end, we have to show the Iranians that there is a price to such operations. After the first the first stage, we didn't retaliate because we took the advice of the world saying, guys, don't deteriorate the situation, don't attack Tehran and so on and so forth. But this time, after the second time that they are launching 200 ballistic missiles into the heart of Israel, I think that Israel should retaliate. When the decision makers decide that this is the time to do it.
And Major General, when you say that Iran needs to pay a price, do you believe that October 7th has been avenged? What more costs are you looking at?
About Iran is not because of the 7th of October. Iran had a strategy in which they built around Israel a ring of fire. The elements of the ring of fire were Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, the Houthis from Bab el-Mandeb. Now the situation is different. We succeeded to eliminate Hamas. Hezbollah is weaker, much weaker than it had been. But the Iranians launched directly from Iran into Israel 500 projectiles in April and in October. The Iranians have to understand that there is a price for such an attack on Israel. What price? Depends what facilities we will destroy in Iran. And I hope that the Iranians, after understanding that there is a price, will not continue to deteriorate the situation.
And when you say this, we also must tell our viewers that the Hamas's top leadership has been decapitated. About 5 top Hamas leaders have been eliminated just in the last 2 months. What happens next? What is your reading?
My assessment is that we will have to fight weaker Hamas in the Gaza Strip. It will not be as strong as it was. They cannot produce new missiles and weapon systems. They cannot smuggle in from Egypt because we are controlling the border between Gaza and Egypt. And we will have slowly to eliminate, to go from one area to another, to eliminate the remnants. And at the end, they had probably between 30,000 to 40,000 members, terrorists in the organization. We will have to kill the majority. I don't know if you will reach each of them, but many of them. Up till now, we killed around 20,000, and we have another 20,000 that we have to eliminate. And when the organization will not exist, we will be more than happy if someone will take responsibility for the civilian issues and rebuild Gaza. But we will keep the freedom of action not to let Hamas to rebuild itself in Gaza. And it is complicated situation in which we are not in, but we are responsible for the security, and when we going in and out based on the intelligence that will be collected.
And when you say this, there is also a lot of question and concern about the lives being lost already, even as this war with Gaza also continues. And you say that, we still are not at the end of this war. Bibi has also said this is just the beginning of the end. So should we also not be concerned about the fatalities, the number of people who are dying?
Look, for 25 years, the world didn't come to Hamas and said, guys, don't do it within your own people. We warned the world, the international community, the United Nations, that Hamas, as Hezbollah, is building all its capability within the civilian areas. Behind the back of their wives and sisters, they build Hamas capabilities. They build tunnels under buildings in which they live. So if there is any argument, any claim against the situation, Hamas is the address, not Israel. Israel didn't initiate the war. Israel is just reacting to the initiation of Hamas and the fact that Hamas is fighting behind the backs of its own people. And if someone will say, it's not morally, you cannot kill civilians. The practical meaning of this sentence, don't fight Hamas. So Hamas will continue to be a terrorist organization, doing what it did in the 7th of October, including butchering women, raping them, and killing babies and elderly. And at the end, Israel will not have the ability to fight Hamas because they are within the civilian areas, and there is no way to fight them without killing civilians. So immunity for Hamas is not an Israeli card, and we will continue to do what is needed. We will do whatever we can to minimize the number of civilians which we killed, but it cannot be done without killing civilians because Hamas is fighting from within civilian areas.
Okay, so I think I understand what you're saying, that, you need to reduce the firepower of the Hezbollah. You need to ensure that it is completely wiped out. It's only then when, an exit can be talked about. What about the hostages? What about securing the release of the hostages?
This is part of the mission of the IDF in Gaza today, to reach the hostages or to put enough pressure on Hamas that Hamas will be ready to negotiate about releasing them. Because all the time we think about the hostages, and it is a very high priority of the IDF, either to reach them by force or to build the situation in which Hamas will have the interest to negotiate about them.
And who in the Hamas? Who in the Hamas you believe that, a negotiation can happen now?
I don't know, because it's a new situation. I don't know who will be nominated and will take Sinwar position. We had contact through mediators with Sinwar. Now we will see how Hamas will run the project. The minute that will be someone to negotiate with, we will negotiate.
Okay, and what if you have the Iran and the terror proxies who begin to intensify the attack? Is that a picture, is that a probability that possibly has already been factored and catered to?
Yes, we know that Iran is doing whatever they can. The Iranians are doing whatever they can to ignite both the West Bank and Jordan. They understand that this is the weak belly of Israel. This is the longest border that we have. It's with Jordan. And they are doing everything, providing money, weapon systems, recruiting agents, even within Israel, to ignite the area. Up till now, the Jordanian intelligence succeeded to thwart all these attempts, but today they succeeded to kill, to infiltrate Israel in the south. Some Israelis had been injured and 2 terrorists had been killed. They came from Jordan in the south, not far from Eilat, between the Dead Sea and Eilat. They succeeded to infiltrate. They identified by our forces, and 2 of the 3 had been killed, and we don't know where is the 3rd one. Maybe run back to Jordan or not, we don't know. They came with uniform, but they are not Jordanian soldiers. Slowly, with cooperation with the Jordanians, we will find who are the terrorists, and they will be identified. And we will have better information about them. But this is only an example how Iran is trying to ignite the area, not just in Gaza, not just in Lebanon, but in Jordan as well. And we know for sure that they are smuggling into the West Bank weapon system, pistols, guns, and a lot of money. To buy the people, to pay the people who will be ready to be terrorists.
Okay, and Major General, do you believe this is a political and strategic victory for Israel? And that's why, what the world today says is that why don't we pull back from this situation of war? Why don't we have a ceasefire? Because the world clearly is not ready to face another war. Look at the kind of casualties we have. Now that, the top leadership of the Hamas already has been eliminated, what is the end result that you're all looking at?
As I said, the end result at the end is that someone, a third party, will come in and will be responsible for the civilian life and rebuilding the Gaza Strip. But for that, we have to eliminate the remnants of Hamas, because if someone comes in, if you send a division to imagine such a situation, that you send a division to Gaza, at the end of the day, anyone who will come into Gaza, if it is an Arab country or forces, international forces, United Nations, whatever, they will have to fight Hamas. I don't know about anyone who is ready to fight Hamas today. So before someone is entering to take responsibility in Gaza, we will have to fight Hamas and to eliminate its military capabilities, so no one which is coming inside to be responsible for Gaza will have the obligation to fight Hamas. Hamas is too strong inside the Gaza Strip. He is not a threat to Israel anymore. No one is asking the question, okay, what will be the reaction of Hamas for the annihilation of Sinwar. Because it's not relevant anymore for Israel, but still inside the Gaza Strip, it is still a strong organization that will kill everyone that will try to come in and to take responsibility. If we want someone to do it, we have to eliminate the ability of Hamas to do it in the future.
Okay, and when you say that, you already have suggested a timeline of a year and so, but then who will govern Gaza once the war is over?
When the war is over, someone will have to take responsibility for the civilian life inside Gaza, and Israel will remain only as a military force securing the security of the Israeli citizens outside the Gaza Strip. Israelis will not live inside the Gaza Strip, but the IDF has to have the ability to go in and out to fight terrorists inside Gaza Strip and not to let them to regroup and to build another kind of a threat to the state of Israel as they had before the 7th of October. That's a mistake that we will not do again.
Okay, and you know, Major General, a lot of world capitals today are also asking whether Israel is looking at a regime change in Iran. Is that also one of your goals?
No, I think the regime change is too big for Israel. What we have to do is to make the Iranians understand that they are paying price for launching missiles into Israel, and we can help the opposition inside Iran from time to time. But we cannot put as an aim a regime change in Iran. It's too big for Israel.
Okay, and when you say this, I'm just towards the last few minutes of this conversation. A lot of people, ever since this news broke last evening, have kind of believed that this is possibly the biggest turning point. You know, since October the 7th, you were after this man hot on his heels, you get him, it has been avenged. In your reading, in your assessment, what is it possibly that could happen in the next few days to the next few weeks?
In the next few days, nothing special will happen. They are still in a shock. They have to understand what happened, to analyze for themselves what they can do, what they cannot do. But in the future, the more that Israel will weakening Hamas and killing its terrorists, and it will be clear for everyone that Hamas does not have the capability to stop anyone who will come in to take responsibility, then we will have to make decisions whom we want to take responsibility for the civilian life in Gaza. It will be probably a combination of Arab states, maybe Palestinians directly connected or do not connect to the Palestinian Authority. But before we are making the decision, we have to see the situation on the ground. And the situation on the ground should be very clear. Hamas is too weak to stop a third party from entering to Gaza. Now it is too strong.
Okay. I think it's been, you know, quite an insightful conversation. You've been the right-hand man of Bibi, and I think when you say the war is clearly not ending, it has a lot of import to that, sir. Major General Yaakov Amidror, the former Israeli NSA, thank you so much for speaking to us here on Times Now. We'll continue to track that story. For the moment, we slip into a quick.
Thank you very much, and thank to the Indian people, which are very supportive to the for Israel, and we are very much appreciative.
Thank you so much.
You are most welcome.